Hey there, it's Derek here from Pacific Coast Auto in Japan, and we're looking at a 1996 Toyota Hilux Surf turbo diesel automatic transmission 3-liter engine. That's an inline 4-cylinder. So this one here comes from Japanese auction. It's going to be sent over to Jacksonville in the USA. It has 167,000 kilometers on it. And this video is just going to be a check around the condition of the car before we send it out. Kind of a condition check to make sure it matches the auction inspection sheet. Here you can see the engine runs quite nice. This one's the cold weather package, so you get the dual batteries. Looks like they were replaced in 2023. 2023? No, that's not right. 2023. The Japanese year system is really weird. 2021. Okay, you can see 167, 407 at the time of shooting this. I'll switch the engine off for the rest of the review. And it's a great truck. These Hilux Surfs from auction, the 25-year-old plus ones like this one, can be a little bit beat up. I mean, you can target a great condition one if you want, and then you can get something like this. Most of the ones that we're seeing have a little bit more wear than this one, so this is probably a prime example. Of course, 25-year-old, it will have some things here or there. And I will say I'm quite satisfied with the condition. Usually you go for a mid-mileage one like this. 167,000 kilometers would be considered mid-mileage, I would say. You're taking a little bit of a risk, you know. It'll have some things like paint fade is pretty common on these. Rust you can avoid pretty easily. There are several that are rusty that are available, but you probably don't want to buy one of those. Interiors that smell like cigarettes or have cigarette burns are pretty common. This one does have a very minor cigarette burn on it, but the interior is very clean. Exterior is extraordinarily clean, but it does have some issues with some fade on the front bumper and some rock chips that have been, I should show you now, touched up. Lots of them. Okay, the timing belt was changed in 2010 at 98,178 kilometers. I don't see any mechanical problems on the car whatsoever. So our power steering feels smooth and nice. It shifts smoothly as well. AC works. All the power windows work. Power folding mirrors work. The driver's side one is a little bit noisy. It makes a sound when you use it, but it still works. So before we get into the full review, I'm just going to translate this auction inspection sheet for you. It's a 1996 Hilux Surf SSR-G wide. The wide one has these over fenders on them. And it seems to be just about every one of them is wide. I don't even know if they sold the narrow ones. Maybe very low spec was sold for the narrow ones, but pretty much all of the ones that we sell, i.e. 95% of the ones that we sell are diesels. So I think maybe it was the standard version. So this one is an auction grade 3.5 with an interior B, and of course it has 4-wheel drive. It's selectable 4-wheel drive, so you can select whether you want it or not, which is nice to have. That way you can have better fuel economy when you're not needing the 4-wheel drive. And then the hubs on this one are auto, so you don't come out here and switch them. Okay, power steering, power windows, and airbag. Pardon me, I might be wrong about that. This one is limited slip differential in the front. So you get your high gear ratio and 4-wheel drive. I'm sorry, let me just... 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive, auto. It kind of, you press a button here to get the two. You can go to 4-wheel drive low gear ratio. 4-wheel drive lock, locked center differential. And then up here for low gear ratio, 4-wheel drive center differential is locked. And so the lock of the center differential makes the 4-wheel drive in this much better than, say, the 4-wheel drive and something like that. When you can get them in 4-wheel drive. You can, but that one isn't one. But still not as good as, say, a Land Cruiser with locking differentials in it, or anything with the manual locking hubs, because the front, I believe, I'm pretty sure, but don't quote me on this, I believe your front differential has a limited slip differential in it, a Torsen style. Okay, So purchased from user, it has registration until 2025, June 24th. So it was still intended to be used before they decided to sell it. The only notes on here are driver's seat side has wear, and it does have some, but it's limited. It's not that bad. And underside surface rust and painted. I'd say the underside, you're going to want to take a close look at that because it looks like it's potentially a little bit more than surface rust. Let me just get down here and give you a look. This part here is all just peeling. So that's nothing really to be worried about. But you can see some here, right? The floor pan is all looking fine. The cross beam is looking fine. And then here, look. So it looks a little bit more than what I would consider surface rust. And so probably a good idea to just take a wire brush to any areas that look like this and inspect them. Make sure that they're good and then paint them up again. You don't want any of that rust to be spreading. Here in Japan, rust doesn't come as often as, like, for example, Canada. This will be in, it looks like, the southern United States. I'm not sure if rust is a big problem there, but, you know, it is a 25-plus-year-old vehicle coming up on 30 years now. And it says paint peeling and touch-up paint on the front bumper and the rear bumper, and that's true. It says U2 on the roof, which should be a medium dent, but I could not find any. Doesn't look like any dents up there. Okay, so let's do the exterior now. And start with a walk around here. The Hilux Surf, very popular vehicle to be exported from Japan. Sadly, the USA never got the turbo diesel engines, and this is a peach of a turbo diesel engine. It is only around 130 horsepower or so, but it feels well suited to the vehicle with the higher torque than you usually get in a gasoline engine. You get better fuel economy. You can run it on vegetable oil if you really wanted to. I know that was a very popular thing about 15 to 20 years ago, was collecting vegetable oil from restaurants and then using it to power your vehicle. Not distilling, but you would clean it up and process it in some way before you put it into the vehicle. And I believe some things in the vehicle might need to be modified before you can do that. And your exhaust smells like French fries. Okay, so now that we've gone around it, why don't we take a look at some of the details? So the front grille is actually pretty good. We're not seeing any fade, which is a common thing on these. This generation is a 185. So the one before it is a 130. This is a 185, and then the next one's a 205. And that's just kind of like the internal chassis number that people refer to these as. The front fog lights are original if you spec'd it out with the front bush bar. The front bush bar is supposed to have a chrome decal here that says Hilux Surf, but it's all peeled away. And then the Toyota logo on these has been hand painted back, but not as cleanly as you would really like. And then there's some color fade on the covers. You can't take these covers right off. They just pop off. If you try to do it from here, it'll probably snap. But if you do it from here, you can pop them off. And you can have just the yellow lights. And these covers are cracked here, I suspect. They've put on some flex tape kind of stuff onto it. Front bumper has a ton of little splotches. I don't know if that's supposed to be color match. I would suspect yes, it's color match paint for this specific color. But the way that they reflect is completely different from the rest of the car. Or maybe he just went with crazy silver color and thought, nobody will notice. Kind of weird. I think it would look better even not painted. Okay, the hood, fenders, roof, no paint fade. Means this car has most likely stayed at least some, if not a large portion of its life, undercover, because paint fade is very common on these. I feel like a lot of these Hilux Surfs, especially the diesels like this, are in kind of used in country areas here in Japan. Because here in the city, you can't register the car because the diesel is not a modern diesel and it doesn't pass emissions for the city. So I wouldn't be able to drive this, which is a shame because the Land Cruiser Prado version, the 90 series, shares the same engine and is a similar package to this. And I really would like to have a diesel one. Just pointing out here, there are a few minor scratches around a lot of these door handles. On this one, and the ones on the other side as well. There's nothing to talk about in terms of scratches and dents other than that, and I would say that those are fairly minor. Stickers are still in good condition, which is nice, and these have kind of an armor on them so that they don't tend to take a lot of damage. Like, if a door is hitting it or something, it's likely to hit the plastic over fender here, which can take a lot more damage than metal can, which is bound to dent or whatnot. It also has the same armor right here, and then this can stop some other things as well, because that's the widest thing on the car. Just like a G-Wagon, it has the same kind of thing. G-Wagons are often in excellent condition, and tons of them here in Japan too. Okay, a couple of little chips there, and then the same thing goes with the chips on the back here. You would think that you would only have chips on the front because you gather chips while going forward on a motorway. The back ones, I guess this may be a paint defect instead. Got a little bit of the beginnings of rust coming through on here. Not too bad, just a little bit. And then on the inside of it, it's all in good condition. So no weird hidden rust underneath this. Okay, quick look at the bumper so you can see it from afar and see the damage on it. It comes with quite good condition wheels, but the tires need to be replaced because they're now 12 years old. And it came with a set of 15-year-old winter tires that are probably not worth putting onto the car, in my opinion. Okay, while I'm back here, we'll come in that later. I want to make sure that the chapter selectors work properly. Some people are going to be looking for the interior and click on that and go, how come you didn't show the trunk? A little bit of touch-up paint there. Same thing with some scratches around the door handle. And same here. An aftermarket protective strip has been put on. Actually, that might even be a dealer option, judging by the way that it's nicely plasticed. I'm going to suspect that that's the case, that these were something that you could option out, pay $300 to Toyota, and they'll put those on for you. Okay, pretty much everything in Japan comes with these, because smoking in your car in Japan is very popular. This one is no different, although it has been smoked and it doesn't smell like it. And the rest of this up here is all looking good. Some minor scratches right here. Okay, so to the interior now. We'll start out with the trunk. And the trunk is surprisingly clean. Trunk and back seats both look like they've been barely used. It's kind of weird. A lot of people will buy a car like this when they have a young family and they want to go on adventures. You'll see it in the TV commercials. There's always a family coming back from a family adventure and the kids are sleeping in the car and dad is proudly driving his Hilux Surf and the wife is looking at him admiringly. You're a good dad if you have a Hilux Surf. Kind of. This one here looked like it was owned by somebody who never had kids in the back. There's a little bit of an imprint of a tire on there, and then it came with some original winter wipers, so I guess they changed the wipers to winter ones, and then changed back. Very, not trying to be stereotyping, but it seems very Japanese to do that, to buy winter wipers and change them back and forward. Simply because not a lot of the drivers here know an awful lot about cars, and they tend to take the dealer's word for everything, and if the dealer's like, you need to change your wipers, man, they'll be like, okay. There's a lot of trust in institutions, I guess you could say. So floor carpets are all very nice and clean. Seats, again, very nice and clean. They were in a folded down position when I came in here. So you can fold it like this. This bottom cushion, just like old Volkswagen Golfs, goes up. Then that one goes down, and you get a full flat floor from these seats all the way back. So big enough to sleep in if you need to. Okay, you get heater controls back here as well as an ashtray. And headliner is all very clean, which is something you want to take a look at if you know a car has been smoked in. You can usually see how much it's been smoked in by the headliner. And it's, for the most part, visible if a headliner has ever been washed, because you'll see kind of like a pilling look to it. Okay, the driver's seats here, nicely bolstered, very Toyota-like. You can probably take these out and put them in a Supra if you wanted to. A lot of Toyotas share the same kind of architecture for their seats. And then the sagginess on the outside bolster, like they mentioned, is right here. You can see there are some wrinkles in the fabric. A few here as well, and a few here. I took pictures of those if you want to zoom in. Okay, it has a steering wheel cover, which is something I despise on cars. I don't know why people do that. but to each their own, I guess. Floor carpet's not bad, no excessive wear. There is a little bit of color fade if you take a look at this one compared to this one. This one's even fading a little bit more too. And the inside's nice. There's not a ton of damage. There's a few scratches in here. And there are a couple of scratches here. No deformation of the dashboard, it looks like. Here you can see cup holder. Slides out of there. It's a dual cup holder by the looks of it. Okay, hard or normal suspension. You have a button to open and close the rear window. So yes, this back one can open and close, as well as these backside ones. Four-wheel drive is a button push away. And then, yeah, locking differential for four-wheel drive will make sure that you get full 50% of the power front and rear. And that's pretty much what you would use if you needed the four-wheel drive. And then up to low gear ratio if you wanted to climb up something that's difficult and you don't want to tax the engine too much. Reduce your gears to give you a little bit more power to the road, I guess. Okay. The cigarette burn. Right here, it has melted this a little bit. It's not terribly off-putting. Not super noticeable. And at least it's not in the regular places. You'll often see cigarette burns here, or right here is a common one, or anywhere on the seats really. And I have seen so many of these Hilux Surfs that have had cigarette burns in the seats. It would baffle you. I'm sure I've seen over 1,000 cigarette burns in these Hilux Surfs. Okay, that's all for now. As usual, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comment section. Or actually, better off, send us an email and a real-life person will reply to you individually. There's a link to our description, or a link in the description to our website where you can find our contact information. Hope you enjoyed this walk around. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.